your hot and techy Brezza, the city-bred SUV.
Okay, step aside the rest of the league. The Punjab Kings are back. The team that gives us thrillers, and they will play the Gujarat Titans, another team that they've already had a last ball finish with in a game of huge significance for both sides if they are to seriously keep up with the rest of the pack. So on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. We look ahead to what will be the final home game at Mullanpur in this year's IPL before the Kings move on the road and finish off in their second home in Dharamshala towards the end of the league phase. Tom Moody and Mitch McClenaghan are here. We have sent Wasim Jaffer on a few errands just to check what Virat Kohli's actual height is and whether everything was properly measured. Once he does his investigation and due diligence, he'll be back. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. Punjab Kings are batting first. That is a difference to what we've seen in the past. Most of these crazy games I speak of, Mitch, have been with them chasing. And Sam Curran, who continues to captain for them in Dhawan's absence, has decided to change it up a bit.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you look at the results there's been 2 wins batting first, 2 wins batting second. So it doesn't seem to be that the toss is a real significant factor up there. So I think they just want to be able to try and get off to a good start and be positive and get out of the gates fast. So I don't mind it. It's a positive decision.
Yep.
Probably shows that they don't think it's going to dew up later on. And there might be a little bit, particularly with, I think, Gujarat's, they've picked 3 spinners, haven't they? So must be on a used wicket. Maybe they're picking that it might slow up as the game goes on.
I think the other thing to take into consideration is Punjab's, I suppose, one weak point so far this tournament's been their top order. So it's taking the pressure away from their top order by allowing them to bat first and set the pace, set the tone without sort of feeling that the game's being dictated for them. So if they can fix that sort of Achilles heel, they may well find themselves up and running because there's a few areas of their game that's working really well. Their middle order's working well. Their bowling's working well. Arshdeep's coming back into some form. Rabada's been a constant. So, I quite like the idea of it.
It's a funny one because I thought that the theories or the thoughts behind franchises has changed. When the batting unit is low on confidence, they rather know what they're chasing. As against the batting unit's low on confidence. And if they're 30 for 4 batting first, that almost again is game lost in the first 30, 40 minutes.
Yes and no, because quite often franchises will want to chase if they feel they're batting strong.
Right.
And because they'll back their batters to chase whatever that might be. But if they're batting weak, which Punjab are at the moment, or their top order is, well, maybe just remove that pressure and get their bowlers to take that responsibility.
Okay, I'm quite intrigued with the fact that in spite of the results not going Punjab Kings' way, they don't make too many changes as we look at the home team first up. Where Sam Curran will bat, we'll find out. If he continues to open in a move that did trigger some difference of opinion. Riley Russo getting a good one in the last one, but will keep his place for the time being. Now, they did have Harpreet Bhatia as the extra batting resource in a chase. But that's all the batting they've gone with Ashutosh Sharma in serious form after Shashank Singh. They might look in for a bowler, or are they possibly keeping their options open over here in an unchanged team, at least on the right-hand side otherwise? Tom?
I think that's more than likely going to be an unchanged team, given that they're batting first, and then they'll include a specialist bowler according to how the conditions play out. To me, they're batting quite strong there. With Ashutosh, Sharma coming in at number 7. You got Brar at 8. I don't think you need any more batting unless they have an absolute.
The other night, didn't they?
Sorry,
Brar did a job the other night.
Yeah, absolutely
as well,
did. Yeah.
Yeah. The funny part about this team, of course, is that their batting options are you bring them in rather early, including Harpreet Bhatia. So maybe they're just happy also with the amount of bowling they have. If you count Brar, Harshal, Rabada, Harshdeep on the right-hand side and Curran and Livingston on the left, it's almost a nothing to lose. It's not like they've already taken a call that Rahul Chahar is someone they can manage without, unless your point of the used surface and having an extra spinner might be an important one.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they're thinking with their lineup. Look, I think their batting lineup looks good. Yep. They just need one of those top 3 to 5. That's all they've really been missing, particularly with without Shikhar Dhawan being in that side. So I think what we've seen from those, particularly those bottom 2, Shashank and Ashutosh, have been outstanding so far. They just need someone to contribute at the top.
Neck and neck on the points table as well, these two teams. As we just state the importance of this game, The Gujarat Titans have to put that defeat against Delhi Capitals behind them, and that is a team that is going to bat first today. So will their bowling prefer this? They themselves had a collapse, the Titans batting first in what turned out to be a no contest against Delhi Capitals, and they've made some changes, so they have reacted. Sai Kishore is back after missing 4 games and starting the season in the playing 11 or playing 12, and so too is Azmatullah Omarzai in a reshuffled term of the overseas balance, which sees Spencer Johnson go out and Omarzai coming in to perhaps strengthen their batting. They've also dropped Abhinav Manohar. Thoughts?
Yeah, Omarzai just gives them all-round strength, doesn't he? Because he's a very competitive all-rounder that can take the new ball. He can bat down there. We saw him in the early parts of the tournament bat quite high in the order. I think at 3 for a few games. I think he's out of position there, but if he's in the middle order at sort of 4, 5 or 6, I think he's well suited to that position. I like the fact that Sai Kishore's come into the side. I think he's a quality bowler, and I think if they are playing on a used surface, he'll enjoy bowling in those conditions.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at that one more time, reminding you, it is their bowling first team.
Yep. Yeah.
So Sudarshan is the likeliest option, which just puts everyone more in their comfort zone with him batting 3 and everyone 1 below. Sandeep Aurier keeps his place though. Strength of that side looks all right. It is a team that's still figuring out their best.
Don't read too much into how that outing went for Sandeep Aurier in the first game. I mean, he took a wicket, he took a good wicket, but they were going after it. I mean, Delhi was trying to get their net run rate up considerably and try and knock that off quick smart. So I expect him. Initial thoughts about his form and how he looked at the crease with the ball were good. He had a little bit of shape, he had good rhythm. So, with it being a decent start today with no real scoreboard pressure or low total to defend, I think he'll start well with the new ball.
All right. Well, let's just give you the breakup when it comes to this new ground in the IPL. How's Mullanpur played? It's given us some great games, actually. So I'm quite sad that we're going to see one last game at this ground for this season. But we've seen the breakup between pace and spin. And for a large point of it, it was pace dominant. It still is as far as the numbers go. Strike rate of 14.9 to pace as against 27.3 to spin. 22.4 is the average as well. And the economy spin's been tighter. Are we arguably seeing the best spin attack though with Rashid and Noor? Have we seen as much quality spin at this ground?
Oh, I think this is arguably as good a spin attack that's in the tournament. The two Afghans. Rashid Khan's a historically proven performer in IPL, remarkable bowler, and his understudy that bowls the other side, Noor Ahmed, is also walking comfortably in his footsteps. So I think it's a great combination. And as I said earlier, I quite like the fact they've added the left arm of Sai Kishore as well, because he's very different. He's very tall, and he creates really good angles and gets some steep bounce.
Yeah, I mean, we've not seen KKR at this venue either, which is the other team that boasts of quality spin.
True.
But they have dropped their premier spinner in Rahul Chahar. So maybe we'll get to see something. Maybe spin will play a big part.
Well, particularly if we see a turn in the first innings, I think we will. Absolutely. Look, I think Chahar's a very good bowler. He just lacked a little bit of rhythm, and you expect your international players to bounce back at some point. So Rahul Chahar's that guy, and if he does get included, I think he's got the goods to bounce back. Yeah.
To be fair, I agree, but the last 2 years he has struggled in that environment. So since he's been at Punjab, he has struggled to really have some traction as a bowler. And sometimes that can be the environment you're in. You don't feel you're trusted. You don't have the direction you'd ideally like to have. And it's a bit like we've talked about many times about how players go to Chennai and suddenly, their value as a player on the field and the returns you get a double. Yeah. Well, why is that? And that's because of those points.
Could also be impact player.
Yeah.
Just don't want to give him a second over if he's expensive in the first and double it up with the extra bowling protection.
Yes, true.
Rashid Khan, though, is not someone that you think ever needs any help. But have we seen the best of Rashid Khan this year? If we just break it down, sometimes numbers can be harsh and they don't tell a true story. But are you surprised when he's only picked up 2 wickets in the middle, and we take into account a game like last time where they were bundled out for 89, Tom, but an average of over 55. Noor Ahmed's actually done quite well. But Rashid Khan and those numbers in comparison to Rashid Khan of the last 2 years at this franchise?
Well, looking at those numbers, he's got 15 wickets to go. And he'll have a repeat season. But look, I am a little bit surprised, but we also need to understand that Rashid Khan's human as well. He's just come back from quite a serious back operation.
Correct.
Leading into this tournament. And any bowler, whether you're bowling spin or you're bowling pace, that's a huge stress to recover from. So he's also finding confidence in his body first before he's bowling. So, he's, as the tournament unfolds, I'd imagine those numbers will only get better from a wicket-taking capability, and also he'll maintain that economy. If not, that'll drop.
What I really am looking forward to, Mitch, as we look at some more numbers, and you can carry on from where Tom's left off, is it's an overall problem as well, with just 2 wickets on an average per match in this season, and 38.2 is the average. They've actually not had the impact in the middle overs, and they come up against a team that usually wake up sometime in the middle overs when their in-form hitters come to the crease.
Yeah,
Good contest.
I feel it's a really interesting one, right? I reckon if it was just Rashid and not Noor Ahmed in the middle, I think teams would probably just sit on Rashid and just say, we'll go through this period and not try to take him on, and we'll take it on from the other end. But because they've both been bowling in tandem, you've got to go after these guys if you want to be able to post a total or chase the total down. So what we've seen so far this season is a lot of teams are being significantly more aggressive towards Rashid Khan and Noor Ahmed during that period, because they don't want to get bogged down in that middle phase, because they know it's key to Gujarat actually winning games. So I like it. There's a few teams coming out throwing counter punches this year to Gujarat Titans, and we're seeing them reap the rewards with that high middle stage economy.
And the impact sub allows you that flexibility. I know we keep going back to this, but that the reality is you can risk it a little bit more against your Rashid Khans of the world, purely because you've got that safety net.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see what the middle overs holds for us today in a Punjab Kings game. That's, like I said, when things really happen, when the Kings play. And you've got Rashid and Noor against possibly an Ashutosh and a Shashank Singh, big test for them. With every game now, the expectations increase. Now we wait to see if Ashutosh Sharma can do it after teams have thought for him, planned for him. Because we were guilty of Shashank taking on Bumrah in the last game. So maybe
the reality is that role is the hardest role in the game, batting-wise, not in the total game.
I think
from a bowling perspective, there's a few difficult roles, but that role as a finisher is the hardest role to absolutely nail. And players are going to have those peaks and troughs when it comes to execution of that role.
I mean, it's been remarkable how consistent he's been at doing that role, both him and Shashank. It's not a role where you expect to see someone get 30, 50. It's a really, really difficult role, and it's one of those, like you say, ups and downs, and he's riding high at the moment.
All right. Well, we've got a thriller loading at the Eden Gardens, and we're going to just hang around and see how things develop there. Dinesh Karthik is once again, that could be the difference for RCB. However, he's taken his time today, and in a game that's heading to the last over for a thriller, we'll revisit it in a little while from now and see where things stand. At this point, we've just crossed the halfway juncture, of course, in this year's IPL. We thought we'll just bring in how much of an impact fielding has played here, or rather just catching has played here. We've noticed, maybe just on view, lots of catches being dropped. If we actually break it down and see the report card at this stage of the tournament, we've had a success chance of 77, which is lower quite significantly than seasons before. We've had 98 drops already, so the average is high, and we'll just try and make sense of it all as we also break down which teams have been more successful than others. First glance, looking at these two numbers, gentlemen, that we're seeing more drops, and Punjab is one of the teams that actually have a decent success rate. Gujarat, on the other hand, lots of drops. Tom?
Yes, we can't blame this on the impact sub, can we? Look, it's an interesting one. It's a real puzzle to me to why we suddenly are seeing more drops, because it's not like that we're playing at a different time of day. It's not like we're playing in new stadiums. All the players are used to playing under lights. All the usual sort of potential excuses or reasons for this to happen. Maybe it's fatigue. Maybe it's concentration. I always think in the field, one thing that can go amiss in a fielding environment is just concentration. People get caught up in the atmosphere of the game and aren't actually concentrating, in their roles in the fielding positions, and suddenly, they're slightly a step behind the game, and that costs them.
Yeah, I think that first table we had up, which showed the years.
Get it? Yep.
Whenever you're looking at stats, you look at trends, right? So 2020, you're looking at 84%, and every year it decreases. So to me, that tells me something. It tells me that either, in my opinion, I think the skill level must be decreasing. So there's got to be a reason for the skill level decreasing. And having been around these teams and in the past or now going into coaching, fielding's not really at the forefront of many young players' training. It's not the first thing they do. When you were playing and when I started international cricket, you'd always do a significant fielding session as a team. Right now, generally, it's a warm-up. You go straight into the net. You go straight into your main skills, and then you go and top up with the fielding coach. And a lot of players I've seen in the past, they'll dodge that part of the game. They'll go and do some more bowling, or they'll go do some more batting, or they'll go sit down, massage, or get the first car home. So maybe it's a fact that players aren't putting as much time into that facet of the game, because that's not a currency for a lot of players, and it's a currency that I think should be measured. I think if you drop catches or if you let runs over the boundary as a bowler, in my view as a coach, if I was picking a team, I'd be looking at adding that onto a player's economy or minusing that off a player's runs, because that impacts the game so significantly. And we're seeing it this year. Teams are losing games because they're dropping catches or letting easy boundaries through.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've had this conversation before a few years back, and what happens in American baseball is the fielding is a real important measurable.
Yep.
Cricket is fixated on measuring bowling and batting.
Yep.
And the only measure really for your fielding impact is the catch. Yes, you've taken a catch, well done. And there's no real measure, as you're saying, that, like you have, well, your bowling average is at 25,
yeah,
and your strike rate might be at 52,
yeah,
but what is your fielding impact?
yeah.
Blank. There's nothing there. So that's something that potentially could come into the game in time, where you not only have a accountability of what you do as a specialist bowler, but there's also your batting. You're batting down the order, and then your fielding. What's your statistics as a fielder, as an impact player?
And it's going to come into the game. It's something that I definitely look at. I'm playing my career, I'm watching guys go 2 for 25, but then let 10 runs go through in the field. So effectively, they've gone 2 for 35, where a decent enough bowler will go for maybe 2 for 32, but they'll save you 5 runs in the field. So effectively, that's 2 for 27.
The point you raise, I find quite interesting on whether this has now become a change just in the IPL or just T20 teams the world over, where fielding is not given as much time because of the reasons that you mentioned. Now, IPL is also logistically such a challenging tournament. You're going one to the next. Sometimes you're playing 3 games in a week and all the travel. And therefore, if you only have the certain amount of hours of training, are you just spending more time with range hitting, power hitting, or bowling coaches and less time?
There's no limit to the amount of time you can train. Realistic, really, right? Like, you could be there for as long as you want or get there as early as you like to do that kind of stuff. So it's just people deciding whether they want to improve that. And maybe until there's a measurable, which starts affecting people's prices when they get picked up in tournaments around the world, or even in the IPL, that may not change.
Yeah, but I'll put my coach's hat on. Every franchise has got a fielding coach.
Yes.
I would be asking that fielding coach, what is it you're doing with Mitch or whoever the person may be? What are you working on? How is he getting better? These are the potential flaws in his game. We need to fast track him as quick as possible, because at the moment we can't pick him because he's a liability in the field.
Yep.
Let's just have a look at one more set of numbers. As like I said, we are witnessing something quite extraordinary at the Eden Gardens, and it's an unlikely hero that's coming through for RCB, but we're balls away from that. Let me come back to that in a bit. As of now, let's just look at the 2 teams that have actually had the biggest, have been the biggest beneficiaries of missed chances. Now, I'll take some time on this. So when Punjab bowl, They've had the least amount of catches, or among the least amount of catches dropped. If you think 8 and 9 is on the lower end and therefore better. And while they've been batting, they've actually had more chances go down of them, so they've benefited the most here. Gujarat, on the other hand, they've had a lot of catches going down in the outfield when their bowlers are bowling. Maybe one reason why Rashid Khan is having those numbers. And then we look at drops while batting, where we've seen very little go down against them. So if you want to simplify this on a luck index point, their bowlers are seeing more catches dropped of their bowling, and their batters are not seeing the opposition give them any gifts in return. That's the Gujarat Titans. Punjab right up there, but it doesn't necessarily translate into a strong position on the points table.
I'll let the specialist bowler, because he's the one that'll be hurting the most with a drop catch off his bowling.
It's right. Like, there's been a few games this year where the Gujarat Titans have been well in the game, and there's been a significant drop catch that's had a major impact on the outcome of the game. And those are the things that you can't let happen, right? And I hope there was a flash interview with John T. Rhodes where he said that his measurable for his fielding is for his catches to catch above 80%. And if you looked at that original table, there's only 2 teams that are firing above 80%. So the standard and what the benchmark is and should be, everyone's well below.
May I also just throw in another one? Like, if we can just take that first graphic up again, whether we can possibly see just a simpler understanding of this. Let's just see the first one with the number of chances gotten down this season. Right, so increase in matches, of course. So we'll look out the average as it turns out. But at 35 matches, if we're at 98 drops, you double that, and you're expecting just more chances. Simply put, you double the chances and you double the drops, and you're seeing more than we've ever had in the IPL. Is that again a result of what we're seeing this IPL? More teams playing aggressively, more high scores, more balls in the air, more balls on the boundary, more
100%. 100%. The ball's being hit in the air more. Look at the number of sixes. We've had more sixes than they've ever had at this stage of the tournament. Players are playing, a more fearless brand of cricket. Therefore, it's a higher risk, and the balls are flying through the air at great rates. So some of those chances will be very difficult chances as well. They're not sort of your all standard, tap up in the air stuff.
I can also sense that now the ball's flying everywhere, right? I mean, I'm sure there was a time earlier where you used to want to station your best players in a... We all took a second because the last ball was just being played out, and I think we might have had a win by a run, but I'll come back to that. Let's take a second. There's a lot to unpack at the Eden Gardens. But last question to you guys on this is whether you also... This is a result of the scale at which batting, power hitting is going. We're actually seeing fielders everywhere being tested, and not necessarily just long on, long off, deep mid wicket who used to be your gun fielders.
Yeah, you can't hide anymore. Yeah. You can't hide anymore, and I guess that's the point we're trying to highlight. No matter where you are, you're going to get a catch now. And it used to be that you could hide 2 players at short third man and short fine leg, and now you're starting to see in the power play short third man's up, and he becomes a catching option. So that is now often a bowler, and that's probably a significant catching position. So you can't have 2 bowlers who can't field in your team. No. So you actually, now it's probably got to 1, and I reckon now you almost,
Well, there's none, really.
You need none.
the thing is that batters now are accessing 360. So they're playing reverse sweeps against pace and spin. So that short third man is in a hot spot, effectively, to some batters.
Yep.
They need to be able to take a sharp catch or dive left, right, have the reflexes to be able to do that and the agility to do that. And it's the same on the short fine leg, where there was only a select few that could play behind the wicket very, very well with those little laps and paddles and reverses and what have you. Everyone's doing it now. 100%. So you're actually in a hot spot if you're supposed to be hiding under a tree just to short the third man or fine leg.
All right. Let's move our attention to what was the first game on this doubleheader Sunday in the IPL. They play out the most entertaining games, do KKR and RCB. They gave us a record in terms of runs. Sorry, that was a different one. But let me just focus on the Eden Gardens game. 443 runs, and the difference is only 1 between KKR and RCB. A thriller that the Knight Riders this time have ended up on the right side of the result of. They lost to Joss Butler's brilliance in a similar game in the last time, but this time Mitchell Starc has managed to just keep them on the right side of the result in spite of Karan Sharma's late cameo and burst, and in spite of 2 fine half-centuries from Will Jacks and Rajat Patidar. Fascinating game. We've tried to keep our eye on it while we've also been discussing fielding trends. But give me your first thoughts. I think, Mitch, you called it at our half-time show that you think it was going to get close.
Yeah, I think I said eight runs. Yeah, I thought it would be a last over finish, but I didn't know it would be Khan Sharma taking it down to the wire. That was sublime. It really was. And I'll tell you what, to get him under pressure for Mitchell Starc to bounce back the way he did and take a really good low catch, caught and bowled to get Khan Sharma out and finish it off nicely after being under significant pressure at the start of the over. And if you look back at that over, it wasn't a terrible over. He was this close to hitting most of his Yorkers and Khan just seemed to squirt it away.
I can't imagine what would have happened if Russell's bowled a pivotal penultimate over here, where he's conceded just 10 runs and a wicket, and the wicket of Dinesh Karthik at that, and then Mitchell Starc's come in with 19 to defend, with 21 to defend, and thankfully conceded 19. 21's a lot on a day where KKR and Shreyas Iyer and the management have decided that Starc wouldn't even bowl his 4 overs. Yeah,
look, you would expect 99 times out of 100 for Starc to be able to defend that when you're bowling to the tail end of RCB or any team for that matter. Yep. But it just goes to show where this game's going at the moment. Everyone's got this belief that it doesn't matter what's required. They've got the belief that they can chase it down. And a couple of those sixes from Karan Sharma were extraordinary. They were just sort of slices over backward point, and that is his area. Yeah. But still, they weren't bad balls, as you said, from Starc, and he created some sort of finish for us. Yeah,
chaos though. What's the difference between these two, between the results today?
Just a team that knows how to win. And a team that doesn't. That's what it is. The RCB have been short on victories, and as much as people say, well, that shouldn't count, it does have a significant factor. I think when teams who aren't winning get into pressure situations, it's easier for them to implode. And I thought that was a very valiant effort to take it that close. But yeah, KKR, geez, they're just getting on the right side of things this season.
Yeah, I think the difference between the two teams was either Jacks or Patidar, one of them going on to turn that half century into an 80 or a 80 plus score, and that would have been the difference in winning the game. They both got out at the same time, and that was a massive body blow. So at that point, one of them needed to kick on and get that 80 plus score, and if they did that, it would have been theirs to take home.
Okay. I'm not sure which one of you to trust more, so why don't I bring in Wasim Jaffer, who can be the difference
That's
between
an excellent idea.
Good idea, you think, sir? Please join us as the Impact sub. Welcome, good evening to you, sir.
My pleasure.
And he's been calling this game on Hindi for our dear friends at Star Sports, who proudly still represent. Tom?
Yes, of course.
Good. Yes. What a game. What a game we witnessed. Let's go to the last 2 overs. Andre Russell's played a big role here. He's dismissed those 2 batters you speak of, back-to-back Wasim, and bowled the penultimate over, which in a way is them also perhaps reacting to what happened in the last game with Mitch Starc.
Yeah, I feel that over from Chakravarti was a difference, even though he bowled a bad ball and got hit for 6. But I thought Prabhu Desai missing those dots, playing those dots in that over, and then DK missing out on those singles. Sometimes I feel hurt them in a game like this. So those 2 overs where Prabhu Desai, even though he played well, I thought when it mattered in those crunch moments, he played far too many dot balls to, and then not trusting Karan in the death.
I mean, there are a couple of things they've done here, which again we come back to. When teams losing, you scrutinize these decisions even more. Prabhu Desai is playing his first game, and he's come in ahead of Dinesh Karthik and Lomror, who had game time, who've been playing. DK, arguably, when he's come in today, he's had the easiest of the equations. Then when he's played some incredible innings, and it's just not clicked. Make sense, please? Who can make sense of this?
Well, it's a difference in having an impact in innings in games that are not resulting in your favour against having an impact in games that are on the line. That extraordinary 80 that DK made against Sunrisers was an amazing innings. It's a lost cause.
Yeah.
And what's the currency of those? What's the currency of those runs? And so you play with a different mindset.
Yeah.
And there's a different weight on your shoulders and expectation and pressure that's on a player when the game is there for the taking and you're in that seat. Completely different.
I was surprised DK was not sent at that number.
Correct. Earlier,
And,
you said.
yeah,
100%.
and Lomror was sent to face Narayan, which he might not have faced him. Even though he got lucky, he got a 4. But what are the chances? I mean, Lomror has done well at the back end of the innings. You needed a guy who plays spin well to come in and do the job, who's been in good form.
And I think it's such an important decision to take. Who took that? Whether the team decided, planned it, or you're taking those calls on the fly. Because like you point out, Tom, you've lost Jacks, who's the form batter, and you've sent Cam Green in, who you've just brought back. Right? And then you lose Patidar. Now the call is, okay, are we sending Prabhu Desai, who's not had a ball to play, with Cameron Green, who's just coming back? It just doesn't sound right. Surely it was, even if it wasn't Dinesh Karthik, it had to be Lomror, someone who's had some batting time. Again, just a dressing room that's looking at each other, perhaps.
Yeah, look, I don't know who's making the decisions, but I imagine it's captain and coach are making those calls. But, you know, to me, it's not so much the Cameron Green being at the crease. It's more a case of who would you rather have? Someone that's knocking on the World Cup door in Dinesh Karthik, or supposedly knocking on that door. Lomror, who, as you said, has played a few games and played a couple of really nice cameos. Yes. That is the obvious choice. But, you know, before this game, you know, Dinesh Karthik's striking at over 200. And he just got an amazing 80. Why wouldn't you feed off that form?
What did KKR do better today than, say, the Chase, where you can't really fault them too much because we were praising Josh Butler's brilliance? But KKR were better today, even though in the end they still conceded 220 and won just by a run. Did you sense KKR were better in the second innings with the ball? Yes.
I thought they were lucky. They were lucky, to be honest. And Stark's form is going to be a worry now. I feel it's a worry because they're not bowling in 4 overs.
Yeah.
So obviously there's not that much trust in him. They've trusted Harshit Rana to bowl that 18th over. And the kind of balls that Stark bowled, you would have thought he would have bowled a better delivery. So I thought that Yorker that he got, cotton ball, I thought that was a better ball, which he bowled rather late.
Great catch as well under that kind of pressure.
But other than that, I think his form is a worry, but I think they scraped past the win, I would say.
Do you think it's that's a case of maybe it's that they've actually done well to put Stark out of a higher pressure situation today? And it's okay, even if you pay 25 crore, doesn't mean you have to bowl him 4 overs. They perhaps
no, you don't have to.
Smartly.
And I think they use their informed bowlers well. Andre Russell, as Tom will know, when Andre Russell is riding high, if he takes wickets in his first over bowling, he continues to bowl well. And today he was key. He broke that partnership in the middle. But he bowled the 19th, which generally in a chasing innings when you're bowling, defending innings when you're bowling, 19th is the most critical. And the 18th from Harshit Rana, that set up the 19th for Andre Russell to bowl well. And those 2 overs, 18th, 19th, probably had the biggest impact. And I've really been impressed with Harshit Rana. I think from the outset he was great at the start of the tournament. He showed good variation, good skill. He's some shape with the ball, with the new ball. When he was out, they missed him. They really missed him when he missed those couple of games. And he's come back into the side, and he just seems to be taking every game. He's just getting better and better, which I've really liked to see.
Harshit Rana, you're saying?
Yeah.
He's got a big wicket today. So let's talk about that, shall we? Virat Kohli's been dismissed, and it creates a conversation throughout the cricketing world. Certainly in India it does. The interesting part of this is that this is not a subjective decision anymore with the changes made to the IPL with Hawkeye. Waist high full toss is now not discretionary. It's an absolute call with the height of each batter measured from toe to waist, and then the projection side on, determining where the ball went. Therefore, you see that graphic on screen on the broadcast which says calculated decision. It's not umpire's call. It's not on field call. It's got nothing to do with what the square leg umpire thinks or whether the TV umpire is going by what he's saying. It's simply relying on the data that they have collected and then applied to the situation. However, is that good enough? Is that end of story? Or does Virat Kohli still have every right to say, no, I don't agree with what technology is saying.
I love the rule. I think this is one of the things throughout my career was a bane of my career when I was in games where guys would run at you and they'd get a low full toss or a full toss on the full, they'd be a metre out of the crease, and then because it's a waist high, they'll still call it a no ball, because in games where you don't have tracking, you can't predict whether it is going to stay under the waist, and so you haven't really had like a thick and fast rule of what is a waist high full toss. And I think this rule now with the technology, I think it's brilliant. I think it eliminates all of that grey area. It eliminates subjectivity from game to game, and I think that's the key.
Wasim?
Well, I looking at that dismissal, I thought he wasn't out. I thought he was over the waist, and you got to look where the ball had hit him, and he wasn't charging at the batters. At the bowler. So I personally,
but it's a waist high full toss. It's not, his bat was out another metre.
He was outside the crease.
He was outside the crease another metre to his body. It's not point of contact. That's what, and that's the subjectivity thing when there wasn't this. Yeah. When there wasn't this rule, quite often a batter would hit the ball out here.
Yeah.
So there's still another metre. So they're guessing this metre as well, and then they're still trying to guess where it is when it comes past the crease. So that's in the past has actually led to a lot of decisions that have been incorrect, in my opinion.
I just think the confusion here that is across the cricketing world with this polarised people's opinion on this. The confusion is the law now states it is measured from the popping crease. So if you've decided to bat a metre out of your crease, which Virat Kohli has done in this occasion, that's his choice. But if he gets a full pitch delivery, it's going to be measured by the tracking of that ball to the popping crease, not to where he's made contact with the ball with his bat or if it makes contact with his body. So the 2 metres you're referring to is the metre between the bat and the body, and the metre between his body and the popping crease where the measurement is taken. And it was well below the waist at that point because it was a slower ball that was tracking down towards the popping crease.
The only other element that might still not satisfy viewers is often at times when we look at aspects of technology, which are of course brought into the game to improve decision making and eradicate errors, when it is projections, people start wondering if the projections are accurate. That is where we have people not happy with the umpire's call, or at times they disagree with what the ball tracking projection path is saying. Now, in this case, many times, like in Andre Russell's case today, you have projected it while it's gone beyond. There's no projection needed here because you've seen the actual ball pathway go behind the popping crease and you know where that ball is gone. In Kohli's case, he's met it, and this is a dipping ball, a good slow ball from Harshit Rana, so you can argue whether that projection is accurate or not.
Well, you could probably argue in that case that it was going to dip more than the prediction.
Correct.
Yeah. But again, you know, we're asking for technology to improve our decision making, and we know that it's not 100% correct. But I tell you what, it's far better than the naked eye at square leg, which is what it used to be.
I can almost guarantee that, if I'm just speculating, that if we didn't have this rule, that's being called a no ball though. Just for what it's worth. Just going by what I think would have happened.
Of course it would have been. Yeah, of course it would have been.
But that is also, I guess, the batter's thinking that in his instincts, this is always going to be a no ball.
Yeah, and I can understand his confusion and Faf du Plessis' confusion at the other end, because it looked way over, the height of his waist at point of contact of the bat.
Yep.
But that's not the law. The law has changed, as we've just explained.
Okay, fine. Are you still saying it shouldn't have been given out? I mean, there's no real room for the umpire, even if he feels like, oh, I'm surprised that that's below, but I can't. There's nothing
it's out of his control.
To base it.
Totally out of his control.
Okay.
It's like when no ball comes up on a replay.
Exactly the same.
It's right in front of you. You can see the heel is past the front line.
I mean, it's also like the LBWs where you think, oh, surely this is not going to be 3 reds. And you think with your own impressions that this is going to be at least umpire's call, so the bat will survive. And suddenly you see 3 reds. Even if the umpire looks perplexed that how can this be, he has no choice but to change his decision. All right, we'll leave it there. Good slow ball though. Shall we credit Harshit Rana, or was that just
it wasn't
lucky?
A good slow ball.
No?
It was a junk ball.
Yeah.
It was a junk ball.
It wasn't intentional, put it that way.
It's got the wicket, it's got the job done.
Yeah, but it wasn't a good ball.
Okay, all right. And on that note, it's time for a rapid fire review of an excellent game. So let's go straight to it, shall we? Right, 20 seconds, gents, as we keep an eye. I don't know how you guys will do predictions for the second game. It's almost going to be over by the time I'm done. Right, make it real quick, 20 seconds. Russell's double strike to get Jacks and Patidar, is that where the game turned? Tom Moody, 20 seconds.
Yeah, I think that was a critical moment when Andre Russell came on with his very first ball, got a wicket. Having two set batters that were very much on track to getting this total chase down, looked very comfortable at the crease, both of them.
All right, 85 to win of 50. Did Bengaluru need to go as hard right after losing Jacks and Patidar, Mitch?
I think they still needed to take a bit more meat off the bone before it got to the latter stages of the game. But, with going at that, trying to keep up with that rate, there's obviously an element of risk. And they were unfortunate they lost a couple extra wickets.
Okay, what decision-making from Bengaluru's batting order point of view cost them in the chase, do you think, Wasim?
I think when Lomror came, I would have probably sent DK. That's definitely one. And probably DK missing those singles, that's the one that's hurt them.
Okay, standout innings from the first innings, Tom, with Phil Salt's hitting, Ramandeep's finishing and Shreyas anchoring. Standout innings for you?
Oh, for me, it was Phil Salt. I think he just got the jump on the opposition. They bowled poorly to him. They bowled very well to the other end, to Sunil Narayan, but to Phil Salt, he's a very dangerous player and he's in form, and they gave him the length and the width that he can really damage you.
All right. Mitch, why is Mitchell Starc struggling compared to the other Kolkata quicks, and what does it tell us that he's not bowled his 4 overs?
Oh, look, the ground, small ground, good wicket. Looks like it's just skidding onto the bat nicely. And I think guys now are not afraid to take on bowlers like Mitchell Starc. I think there's far more aggression towards any bowler in the IPL now.
All right. And finally, Wasim, verdict on the no ball call for Virat Kohli's wicket. 20 seconds.
Well, I think he's been given out and it will stay in the scorebook as out. So, yeah, they've lost by 1 run. As simple as that.
Right? It's a set of 3 facts stated by Wasim. It's the best way to annoy people. Just state facts. Most people get annoyed. Anyway, that's it. That's a wrap from what was a thrilling game, though. And unfortunately for RCB, it's 6 defeats now on the trot. For KKR, it puts them nicely in the company of the Rajasthan Royals and Sunrisers Hyderabad, who are gunning for a top 2 spot as we just pass the halfway point. It's time to very quickly enter the impact zone for game number 2. Now, this is how it works. I'm sure you're familiar with it if you've been following the show regularly. 3 players for each expert, batter, bowler and wildcard. Impact points as per ESPN Cricket for Smart Stats, where I can tell you Andre Russell has topped the charts in that previous game. There have been a number of contributions, but Russell's right up there with his wicket taking. And expert with the highest points tally, of course, goes forward. You picked Russell, didn't you?
Yeah, I
earlier
did.
today. But it's only at the halfway stage. So let's wait for this game. And I think it's going to be a different kind of impact zone picking. I don't think many of you will pick Prab Simran, even though he's had a nice little
Well,
start.
some bankers there.
Yeah, he's
Struck
already
a 166, 35 off 21.
So you have the advantage here. There's no rule which says you can't pick a player who's already performed. Prab Simran may very well be subbed out as well. So you know what he's going to get now. So you have the
not a bad
advantage
little
of banking
contribution.
that much in your tally. So this is a different kind of rules, right? Who went first this morning, this afternoon?
Tom.
I did.
You did. All right. In which case, Wasim, you may go first.
Shubman Gill.
Very well.
We're going batter.
GT captain, Shubman Gill for Wasim.
I'm going to go Sam Curran.
Okay, both captains taken. Let me note this down. Oh, there we go. All right. Gill and Sam Curran.
Okay. I'm going to go for Liam Livingstone.
All right, Livingston. That covers our batters. Time for our bowlers. Mitch.
I'm going to go with Rashid Khan.
All right. Tom.
I'm going to go for Noor.
Noor Ahmed for Tom Moody. Wasim.
I'm going to go Mohit Sharma.
Go for it, Tom. And Mohit Sharma, of course, has picked up a wicket. Well done, Wasim.
Of course he
Well
has.
played.
Of course he has.
Well played.
I'm going to go for Rabada.
Kagiso Rabada for Tom Moody. Wasim.
I'm going to go Riley Rosso.
Riley Russo, who's hit a 4 of his first ball.
Well, It's just
No,
four.
fair enough.
Oh,
Take
you've
advantage
got your
now.
Sam
No,
Curran.
That's fine. That's fine.
You've got your Sam
Mate, he's
Curran.
going at 113. He's striking at 113.
Oh, well, he's got 20 on.
Yeah, okay.
He's got 4 overs to
yeah.
bowl, arguably.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to go
His batter.
Omazai.
All right,
Who?
the returning Azmatullah Omar Zai. It is. Should I?
Go
Go
on.
on, just,
All right.
Go on.
Thanks.
I know you won't be able to. You won't be. You'll be too restless.
Such a
for-
long
will
show,
be.
I thought I'd
You will
forget
be.
it, but no, I want to play. I get too much FOMO. Plus, it'll be fun beating any of you. Right, I am going to go with the boys who are the talk of the town. Ashutosh, Shashank, and Arshdeep. I'm going to go for Punjab to win today. There we are. See you guys at the end of the Punjab Kings innings. Then join us then for Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. Download the mobile app. Plenty will be written and said. Reactions from the Eden Gardens after thriller between KKR and RCB and the fastest scores from this game on the ESPN Cricket for mobile app. See you in very quickly in 14 overs time.
All new hot and techy Brezza, the Citybird SUV.